Hello and welcome back to Flight Sim World. Last time out we talked about Community Update 4. This time out we are actually going to be taking in our aircraft for a landing at Cork, which I believe we are just going on some sort of downwind leg. So we're going to now tune in for our next one, which I've already got it there. There we go, 114.6. That's the VOR for Cork. Oh wow, I didn't know you could do that. When that's selected, plus and minus actually changes the... That's interesting. Right. Basically, when that's selected, if you use plus and minus, you can actually change your radio frequencies. Now, let's get this tuned up for what we need to tune. We're in the opposite direction. That way. That's our way to Cork, so let's have ourselves turning around. We're almost at 5,000 feet. I think we're going to bring ourselves down just a smidge. We're going to have to bring ourselves down just a smidge. If anyone's wondering why this is off, this is just the weather radar. Let me just switch it on for you guys. Is it that one? There you go. And as you can see, it's not really going to be picking up anything, because we don't have any weather to really worry about. So that's why it's not on. You can see there's nothing really there that it's picking up. Maybe when we do an episode with weather, then we'll worry about it. Right, so Cork is this way. Now we're going to bring ourselves down quite happily to say 3,000 feet now. And the runways we're looking for at Cork are either 07 or 25. Now, given the direction we are headed, I think runway 25 is our landing, our best bet for landing. Right, so what I'm also thinking of doing is, I know which way Cork is, so I'm thinking of flying sort of somewhat parallel to the radial so that we have a good chance of landing it. So we want runway 25. We know which way, we know where which the direction is. Which the direction is? What the direction is? Wow, great English. Well done. And we are some, what was that? 12 miles out? 17.8 miles out. Right. If you don't know where I got that, I just read that just there. There we go. So 25 is our landing. 256 is the actual runway heading. So let's actually get this to 256. Not that this is going to do anything, but you know. I think that's about 256. I will lower ourselves down. We'll drop the throttle a little bit more, I think. I can't see the airport. Some 17 miles away, I should be able to see something. And this is a problem with Flight Sim World. Now, I'm going to talk about a few things Flight Sim World Dovetail Games really need to sort out in this episode, even though this is going to be a shorter episode. They need to work on this pop-in. The terrain, you know, it's really blurry. They really need to work on this. Look, Prepared have managed to do it. Explain have managed to do it. And I know someone's going to say, yeah, but they've got loads more experience. This is true. But you're trying to compete with them. You haven't really got much in the way of an excuse. Right, let's turn ourselves to a heading of 150. No, 160. As we bring ourselves down. Ooh, a bit of stutter. You know, unfortunately, you haven't got much of an excuse because, well, you've got to compete with them. You have to compete with those people. If you can't compete with them, you're not going to get anywhere, and that's a big issue, of course. Right, there we go. We're now coming down quite nicely. Throttle down a little bit more. Keep ourselves along there. Now we should, in theory, have this on a... There we go. If we set that to something like a 256 radio, that should actually tell us when we're crossing, which is exactly what we want. But yeah, so they need to sort that out. you know, the flight model's very... I know they're trying to be realistic, but these are very easy planes to fly. You know, this is my first time in a Malibu Mirage, and I've just jumped in. Actually, it's not my first time. I did do a quick one around Los Angeles, but, you know, I just jump into it, and immediately I can fly this without any issues whatsoever. And that's, you know, that's interesting, to say the least. That I can fly that so easily without any problems. You would expect to have a lot more problems flying these aircraft, but I don't seem to be having them. So yeah, that's something to again take into account, and they need to make it, if they want it to be realistic, they've got to make it realistic. The clouds, they've really got to work on the textures. Like I said, the closer we get to the ground, again, we're going to have this issue when we get closer to the ground. Allow me to show you as soon as we come up alongside and we take a turn. Hey, look at that ahead of us though. Some cliff faces. But you can see from here, the cliff faces don't really look all that. And that's an issue. That's a terrible perspective. Alright, I think I should trim up a little. There we go. Okay, we're starting to approach the radial now. Now you guys are probably wondering, hang on a minute, I'm just going straight past the airport here. That's correct, I am going straight past the airport because of the radial I need to get. It's not a completely westerly radial, you see, it's not 270. So from our perspective, it looks like I'm going to be going a little bit past the airport. There we go. Ooh, don't make it climb. It's even out at 0 actually. We're now below 2,000 feet. Bit of rudder needed, just a little bit. Keep ourselves correctly banked. There we go. The airport should be essentially dead ahead of us as soon as we finish this bank. There it is. You guys can see the red lights up ahead. Just there. That's the airport. So we'll get ourselves lined up for that. And we'll wait for the white lights to appear as well. So we'll keep ourselves slowing ourselves down now. So the way I'm slowing us down is I'm bringing the pitch up so that we're at a 0 rate of climb, or a 0. We've got an angle of attack, but we're at a 0 rate of climb, and then that's slowing the aircraft down. So we're not really using the throttle here as such, not just yet. We're just easing the throttle down. We're easing the speed down whilst maintaining the throttle. Eventually we'll balance out, which it looks like we're getting to a point of balancing out at around 130 knots. So I will cut back the throttle just a smidge and see if that helps us out. There we go, and I'm going to lean the aircraft a bit more. Oh, sorry, well, I'm going to change the mixture of the aircraft. I'm actually making it more rich for landing. There we go, we are now slowing down. It's down to almost 110 knots. Or 120 knots, apologies. But yeah, see, Dovetail games really need to work on the texturing. I mean, now if we look out the window, you can see that that's pretty poor texturing. So yeah. It's a problem. Right, it looks like I've got a white light there, so I'm going to turn it in now. In we go. Right, we're going to slow ourselves down even more. And we're going to start bringing out one stage of flaps any moment now. I'm going to dip that down so you can see my controls as I fly as well. Yes, I know about the warning. You don't need to tell me about the warning. That buzzing there, that's a warning. Probably because I haven't got flaps out. It probably wants my gear out as well. But it's okay. Don't need to worry about that. There we go. I was probably nearing a stall. Well, I can't have been nearing a stall, but I was probably nearing a much faster rate of descent than it would have wanted me to do. But we've managed to get flaps out now, so we're good with that. We'll lower the landing gear in a moment. What we've got to do is we've got to get another stage of flaps out in a second. Let's get ourselves pitching correctly. We'll cancel all the trim in a moment. In fact, let's cancel all aileron trim right now. There we go. That's cancelled. And we will now go to landing flaps. There we go. Now I want my landing gear out as well. I'll put landing gear out in a moment. Once we get two greens, two whites. We've got one right now. Two whites, landing gear. Landing gear locked. Let's bring this aircraft down. We'll come down at a nice 500 foot per minute rate of descent. We're now too high, but that's okay. We're going to manage this quite easily. We're almost at idle here. There we go. Back up on the power a little bit, as not to get a little bit too low. Go too high again. It's okay though. It's just a small prop, so it doesn't really matter. I have a feeling that building shouldn't be there, the one that we're just passing, or will just be passing in a few seconds, because that looks like that's on a glide path again. Yeah, look how close I get to that building. Well, you didn't see it, but that's pretty poor. And we will flare it about now. Cancel all trim. Let's ease it in. There we go. And we are down on the brakes. Lovely. Alright. For some reason it's only counted like 27 minutes of flight time, but maybe it was only 27 minutes of flight time. That was probably a short second part. Well, there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Flight Sim World. Leave a comment in the comments box below. Let me know what you think. Dovetail Games, take the advice on this aircraft. There are a few things wrong with it. That doesn't work. Those textures are wrong. You know, there's a few bits and bobs like this. When you're zoomed in, you can't select that when this is active, so on and so forth. You know, nothing too major, but it looks like things need to be worked out. And again, the flight model feels a bit simplistic, but that's that. Last but not least, do support me on Patreon. Link to that is in the description box below. I would really appreciate your guys' support. It'll allow me to create more videos like this and just make better videos and more fun videos, all for you guys to enjoy. Once again, thank you very much for watching this episode of Flight Sim World, and I will see you guys next time, where I don't know, I think maybe I'll take a plane out in Hawaii. If you think that's a good idea, thumbs up and comment. I'll see you guys then.